Every single ingredient that goes into all of our products has to be there for a reason. It has to be there to deliver a positive benefit.
Before we dive into this week's episode, let's talk about a brand we both genuinely love, Cytoplan. You've probably heard us mention them before, and that's because their supplements are next level.
Yes, Cytoplan has been part of my routine for a while now. They just get it when it comes to health. Their whole approach is rooted in science and totally in tune with nature.
Exactly. Their formulas are bioeffective, which basically means the nutrients are in forms your body actually recognises and uses properly and at the appropriate levels. Cytoplan is used and trusted by health practitioners across the country. Their formulas are developed by nutritional therapists and backed by over 3 decades of clinical insight. You really can feel the quality when you take them.
Plus, it's not just about what's in the bottle, it's the mission behind it too. Cytoplan is 100% owned by a charitable foundation, which means everything they do is about helping people live well for longer. It's not about trends or quick fixes, it's about real, lasting health.
That is so wonderful to know. And whether it's our energy, perimenopause, menopause itself, sleep, immunity, or just staying on top of your health, they've got you covered. You can also get a free health questionnaire and a consultation by ringing the helpline.
So if you're ready to take ownership of your health, check out Cytoplan, powered by nature, proven by science, and rooted in purpose. We'll pop the link and an exclusive 15% discount code in the show notes.
Hello there, I'm Dr. Rosy Daniel.
You've just tuned in to Alive and Loving It, and we're here to help you bring joy and energy back to your life.
It's my very great privilege and honour to introduce you to the very inspiring Jane Sterland, eco-warrior woman, business leader, and wonderfully good friend. Jane studied business management in Sheffield Business School, where she got her master's, and also at the University of Cambridge, where she studied business sustainability and leadership. She started working in fashion, but she switched tracks and became managing director of Waleeda UK in 2008. She's made Waleeda into really a household name now, as we can get Waleeda in our supermarkets and on Amazon. And this is just an outstanding achievement to bring these incredibly high quality, pure products to all of us. In 2020, Jane became chair of the Sustainable Beauty Coalition and a president in the British Beauty Council, helping to initiate the Great British Beauty Cleanup with her colleagues there. She's received a number of awards, the Natural Beauty Award and Outstanding Achievement from the European Natural and Organic Beauty in 2022. And then in 2023, she won a Top Businesswoman of the Year award from CEO Today. Currently, Jane is studying integrative medicine at the National Centre for Integrative Medicine in Bristol, and she's to be seen at every top table environmental conference and strategy forum to help protect planet and people. How very privileged we are to have you with us here today, Jane.
Hello and welcome again to the Alive and Loving It podcast. Thank you so much for joining us again. I mean, we are now on episode 32. So if you've listened to all of our episodes, thank you. We couldn't do this without you. And it's been a dream come true for me to do this podcast with Rosy. And actually what it's done for me more than anything is it's given me the time and space to sit down and have very important conversations with my friends and these women who have been my teachers through my life. It's actually, knowing this next guest, this is the reason why I'm in Scotland now. It's all her fault. And I live here now. And we met at the school gates in Derbyshire. And looking back, who knew that my life would take this path after meeting this amazing woman, my dear friend Jane Sterland. I am so excited that you are sat in the chair with us today. How are you?
I'm a bit terrified now. What dark secrets are going to come out? Oh, no, I'm looking at you both on my screen, my dearest friends, and we're going to talk about a subject really close to my heart.
Yeah. How wonderful, Rosie.
Yes, and I think it'd be good just to say how we did connect. In our case, Jane, it was pretty damn magical because Jane and I were at a conference to celebrate the then Prince Charles's book Harmony in Canterbury Cathedral. And I was given the chapter, the talk on health, which I call Greening the People. And Jane came up afterwards and gave me the biggest hug. And when we disentangled, and I said, "Who are you?" she said, "I'm Jane Sterland, MD of Waleeda UK." And just in that instant, I said, "My father was a GP in Derbyshire. You're in Derbyshire, aren't you?" And Jane said, "Who?" And I said, "Dr. Ross Thompson." And she said, "My mum was your dad's GP partner from 1953 to 1963, which was, and I was born in 55. So your darling mother, Mari, was in my life as a little child." So, we found that connection in 30 seconds. Yeah. But Karen, how did you and Jane first connect?
Well, it probably wasn't as profound as that at the beginning because it was a mum's
Because I
night
was terrified of you, Karen. You were always in the school playground looking so amazing.
Oh,
You
my
just
goodness.
looked incredible and you had this radiance about you. And I was thinking, oh God, I wish I could be more like Karen.
Bless you. Well, we met on a school night out, a school mum's night out, and after a few glasses of wine, I remember saying to Jane, asking her about Waleeda and saying to her, "Well, you need to put in some direct sales," and got on my soapbox about selling directly to customers. And she ended up giving me a box of products, which were amazing, blew my mind. And I sold them in a weekend and went back for more and said, "Can I have some more to sell?" And from there, together, we built a network of the Waleeda Wellbeing Advisors. And in its height, we were turning over £1 million of Waleeda products sold. So we had a wonderful ride, but it's far, far deeper than that because Jane is the person that said, "Go to Findorn." Jane is the person that said, "Go up to Scotland." And now I live here. So, funny how things work out, isn't it? So, yeah, so wonderful to have you in the hot seat, Jane, and for our listeners to hear your story. Because when you tell this story, love, and you're on your soapbox, your eco warrior, I would follow you to the ends of the earth.
And you did me the honour, Jane, of bringing me in as integrative medicine consultant at Waleeda. And this is where you and I met, Karen, doing podcasts for the Waleeda Advisor Network. And, so actually this whole podcast has really come through you, Jane, and through us connecting. And so I think it would be really lovely to start by saying, where did it all begin for you? I know that you trained in business management and marketing and that initially took you into Courtaulds, and I think that was with sort of fabric and fashion. But tell us how it all began.
Just love the thread of synchronicity. It's so amazing. And I've realised as I get older, you can only connect the dots by looking backwards. You can't do it when you're in the moment. And so, looking back and really ending up at Waleeda, it was that thread of synchronicity. It was me really wanting to leave the world of fashion that you quite rightly said, Rosie. I'd worked in for, I think it was 15 years. Totally unsustainable industry, but I'm talking back in 2003 was when I realised things had to change. 2004. I'll go a little bit further back though. I'm a product, as you said, Rosie, of a mother who's a very hardworking general practitioner, also from Scotland, from the Outer Hebrides. And so I grew up in a house whereby health was something that you didn't necessarily take for granted. And Mum was always working very hard. She was a very traditional GP, just like your father, Rosy, where her patients came first, and the community. She was literally married to the community. And to be perfectly honest, I didn't see very much of her during the week. She would do at least 1 or 2 nights on call. She would do her morning, afternoon visits, and her morning surgery, afternoon visits, and her evening surgeries, and so on. So I was very fortunate that Mum chose very well in her partner, my dad, who was a farmer. And so I grew up on a farm whereby my grandmother was there. There was always people on the farm. It was a proper kind of, the kitchen was the heart of the farm. And we were brought up in community, I think I would say. Mum serving her community, the farm being a huge community with cats and dogs, and I had horses, of course. We had, I think, 1.17 cats that I seemed to adopt to bring them in front of the Arga, much to the annoyance of my gran. But that being part of the farm and also having this very strong awareness, consciousness about health were the two things that really came together. And it was only looking back, when I came to Waleeda, I was like, of course I was meant to be here. Because Waleeda, maybe for those that don't know, we've been going for 100 years, or over 100 years now. We were founded in 1921 by Rudolf Steiner and Dr. Isa Begman. And it was very much about understanding that we can only be healthy if we totally connect with nature. And the products that we make, we're farmers first and foremost, and we're then pharmacists, where we make products directly from the plants that we grow, either ourselves or in partnership with farming cooperatives. So yeah, looking backwards, joining the dots, my mother's family from the Outer Hebrides were healers. They were nurses or doctors, and before that, her grandmother was known as her family were known as the Island Healers. And then on my father's side, I come from a very long line. Both my maternal and paternal grandparents on the English side went back, generations and generations. I think we can trace farming back certainly 400 years. So bringing those two things together, and also my English gran was a herbalist and would take me out. It wasn't even a herbalist. We just went out to forage from nature to make the cordials to get you through the winter, and it was just a very natural thing. And when I came to Waleeda, and I came to Waleeda by accident, and again, I'll tell you that because that was, again, this beautiful synchronicity. I found everything that I'd been missing. Reconnecting with nature, living with the seasons as a farmer's daughter, an eldest daughter as well. Maybe we'll talk about that later. But I really discovered that work isn't something that's 9 to 5. Work is your purpose in life and how you deliver your purpose. And you do that literally in harmony with nature. If you're living on a farm, you're checking the weather all the time. You're checking everything to do with the farming organism, which is something actually we do at Waleeda in terms of our biodynamic farming. My turning point came though when I had my first child, quite late in life at 38, and Joel, which is one of the reasons that Karen and I know each other, because our boys were great friends at school. Joel had a convulsion and was rushed into hospital when I was off gallivanting down in London, and I dashed back. He was fine. It was a febrile convulsion, but he was taken in just for precautions. And most importantly, my mum had been looking after him, so I knew he was fine. But I remember sitting up with him all night thinking, what am I doing? I'm just in a very unsustainable life, not prioritizing the things that are really important to me, and making more crap that the planet cannot support. We don't need any more clothes, guys. We've got plenty. And that really, I think that night when I sat up with him, looking at him, thinking, if I'm going to spend time away from you, I'm going to need to make it count, make it really work, and do something that is a positive thing for me, but also for the planet. So that's really, I think I must have sent a very big call to the universe to help me, and that pathway led me into Waleeda. And the whole activism thing, goes all the way back to when I was very young, and I couldn't understand why I grew up on a beef farm, and why we'd eat beef when we were just feeding them grain. And I did the maths and I read about it, and really understanding that I think it was something like 15 pounds of grain goes into 1 pound of beef. Don't quote me on that. It was a long time ago. And I was thinking, this doesn't make sense. So I decided to become a vegetarian, which is a bit of a challenge. Back in the late 70s, becoming a vegetarian on a beef farm. But that has really stayed with me, that we should just question everything and not just accept that this is the way we do things. And I think I found that activism in Waleeda, or no, I found that activism in Waleeda about how we do things, because we are not a conventional pharmaceutical or beauty company.
No, and I'd known that you grew up on a farm, that your dad was a farmer, but I hadn't completely grokked that connection between you and the earth and the land and the farm and nature, and how that's where you grew up. And one of the things when I came into Waleeda that just struck me immediately was all the quality standards that you have. I think there are about 12, and obviously this is outstanding. I mean, I know Karen and I are deeply devoted to Waleeda and all the principles and the absolutely incredible consciousness with which the plants are sown and grown and harvested and packaged. But tell us about the standards that you've established, Jane, and obviously that's going to lead us into the topic of greenwashing and what other companies are doing. But tell us what Waleeda does.
So Waleeda started out, so I'm going to go right back to our founding principle, because that shapes the culture of the business. So Waleeda started out as a pharmacy. Dr. Ita Regman, our co-founder, ran a amazing female doctor, a real pioneer, a gynecologist. She was the one that really started the work looking at mistletoe for cancer treatment. And she would intuit from traditional Chinese medicine, from Ayurvedic medicine, from Western herbal medicine, etc., what gifts from nature, what herbs, what active pharmaceutical ingredients, we're going to be scientific, could help the human body regain its balance. Because the human body has an innate way of healing itself, and how we can get that body back into balance by using gifts from nature. So things like arnica, for example, for bruising, which we know it's proven to be the active pharmaceuticals in arnica, but it was very much, she put this pharmacy together. So Waleeda is, first and foremost, we're a pharmacy, a pharmaceutical company. And in the UK, which is where I am, our pharmacy was founded in 1925. So at our heart is pharmaceutical principles. And today they manifest in the quality standards that you talk about. So we follow GMP practices, good manufacturing practices, which basically means that everything we do has an operating procedure, a standard operating procedure. It is documented and logged, and everything that has a deviation, and believe me, nature deviates from your SOP all the time. You get good seasons and bad seasons, high APIs, active pharmaceutical ingredients, and so on. You get products that will arrive with bugs in them, and so on. So, but we have these standard procedures that we operate on, and that does set us apart from many other cosmetic companies, because we operate everything along science-based quality standards. And that doesn't matter whether we're making a bath milk, when you don't need to do it for that, by the way, but you absolutely do need to do it on pharmaceuticals. And we even farm like that. Even in the garden, we have our SOPs, our good manufacturing practices. Even in the warehouse, we have good distribution practices. And it can feel like a bit of a straitjacket, but it's super important that everything is logged and measured and scientifically evidenced, that every single product, so it means the quality is of the highest standard all the time. And to be honest, that's what drew me to Waleeda in the first place. I didn't just see an advert and think I want to work there. I knew the products worked. And I knew the products worked because I was using them, thinking, I can't get over, what is it about these products? It is about the quality. It's almost like they have a vitality in them. And then I came to Waleeda and realised why. And it's because we pay attention to everything to make the product. The product is king. So if you were to go and visit a more conventional, should I say that, beauty company, you'll find that formulation is very much based on what needs to be there with our active pharmaceuticals, but then it's packed together with water and with synthetics and with preservatives and emollients and things that make the experience more pleasurable. That's good. I don't have a problem with that. Then it's packed with, as mentioned about preservatives, all sorts of things that mean that product can have a shelf life of up to 5 years that are not there for the customer, the consumer, for our benefit. They're not there. They're there to make the product more profitable. And yet with Waleeda, we do it the other way round. We say every single thing, every single ingredient that goes into one of our products has to be there for a reason. It has to be there to deliver a positive benefit. And it's a very different way of going about formulation.
Well, and the fact that when you say 100% natural, you mean 100% natural and chemical free, not tested on animals. You look after your farmers in the places where the herbs are grown, and Karen, I know you grew the advisor network up to, I think it might have been 750 people at one point. Tell us your relationship with the products.
Well, it started very simply because Jane gave me a box of products and I put them on my skin and I saw the difference straight away. So I didn't know any of the history. And back then I wasn't really connected to what ingredients were put in products. I'd come from a network company, Virgin V, and sold skincare, but had no idea about greenwashing or anything about that. So that wasn't important to me back then. It was about, does this product work? So I like the fact that I came in really clear to it with no expectation. And actually I don't know whether Jane knows this, but I'd got a box of Neal's Yard products at the same time because I was talking to them. And I love Neal's Yard's product, but out of the two, I would put this skincare on my face and I'm like, oh my gosh, that works. And then over the years, I learned about how Waleeda do research and development and how long it takes to develop a formula. And I was so fed up with companies getting on the bandwagon with what they call a trendy, they'd watch the market and that's the trendy ingredient. So let's develop another product really quickly, get it to market and put that trendy ingredient in, expecting it to work. Whereas Waleeda can take years to find out what that plant does for a human being, what the ailment is that it's trying to heal. And once that formula's made, that's it, because it's the truth. So I fell in love with the fact that they worked, but then I grew and deepened my relationship with this honesty and transparency and integrity. And that's why I've never shifted, the integrity of it.
I think what we have to put on the table, two things, the very big long word anthroposophy, which was the philosophy of Rudolf Steiner and Ita Wegman, and its incredibly sensitive relationship to nature. And what I really loved, and we've had dear Claire Hattersley on as a guest talking about this exquisite sensitivity and looking at the gesture of a plant or the signature of a plant and what the plant is telling you about its nature and how we can lean into that. But also Claire took me round your beautiful Waleeda garden and showed me how you work with the composts and the sensitivity with which the planting happens and the companion planting. And, you just feel the aliveness there and this biodynamic principle as well of working with the stars and the moon and the planets and, the love that is put into every part of the production and manufacture cycle. And you know when you go into a restaurant where the food is cooked with love, it's like you can taste it, and consciousness and focus. Well, I think that's for me, when I first put skin food, I remember, Jane, you showing me to rub it in my hands, and I saw you just lean in and sniff the aroma coming, never, even before it got anywhere near my skin. And what most people do not realize is that everything we put on our skin goes into our bloodstream. Yeah. So I know, we could spend the whole rest of this episode talking about how much we adore Waleeda and everything you've done and stand for, and how you've grown this brand so that we can now find Waleeda in our supermarkets. But you took this on, not stopping there, into the work with the Beauty Council. And tell us about the stance you've taken out there for the rest of the beauty industry.
So I'm just, how do I sum it all up? The beauty industry. So when I started in Waleeda in 2008, probably 3% of the beauty market, I'm not just talking UK, I'm talking general, was what we would term certified natural and organic. So Rosy, you were saying, think about Waleeda is 100% natural. The other brands are available, but there aren't that many. And now what we have is probably about 5%, but the market looks like it's all natural. That's the problem. It's this thing called greenwashing. So we have a number of brands with the word organic or natural in their title, when quite frankly, you need a microscope to find anything natural and organic. It should be a trade description. And unlike food, there is no binding legal legislation that can say, so you can say pretty much what you like. And that is the biggest problem. There is so much greenwashing going on that makes us think what we're buying and putting on our skin. And as you said, Rosy, we know that the skin is a porous membrane. We know, transdermal patches wouldn't work otherwise. So we do know what goes on you goes in you. And maybe I'll talk about nanoparticles as well. To get these active ingredients in to penetrate the 7 layers of our skin, they have to be very, very, very tiny. So we're in a world now where technology is amazing, and we use it to take the tiniest particles that do exist in nature, nanoparticles, tiny, tiny particles. Nanoparticle is an 80th the width of a human hair, just to kind of put it into context. And it is 4 times smaller than a red blood cell, again, to put it into context. So we put these on our skin and they penetrate, and you get much better results. But of course, they penetrate, they go right down, they can go into your bloodstream. And it's not just about the products we put on our skin. We're talking about really toxification of our bodies and what that's doing to us. And we're getting a whole host of chemicals in our environment that aren't really supposed to be there. I could go on and talk about, just the pollution from car tires. Now we're all driving electric cars, which are twice as heavy as they used to be. The pollution coming from the rubber on car tires is huge, and we're breathing it in cities and whatever, even by the side of the road. So we live literally in a toxic soup. Those ingredients in the main in beauty don't need to be there. So we have this greenwashing. We're thinking we're picking up, a shampoo or whatever it is with lovely pictures of plants all over it. The only way you can really know what you're buying is 100% natural, organic, is to buy something that's certified. There are a number of different certification schemes available on the market. In Europe, we have Natru, we have the Cosmos standard, but in general, that's the only thing. You mentioned about cruelty free. There are leaping bunnies. Everything isn't chemical free, but is what are the good chemicals as opposed to the bad chemicals. And that's where you get into quite a minefield. You really do. And because there's very little legislation, you can pretty much say what you like. You can pretty much make up any logo that you like. And now that's getting better in Europe, I have to say, under something called the Green Directives that are coming into play next September. We're already seeing them have a big impact on what you can say on packaging. And Europe does lead the way. The UK obviously is out of Europe. Whether we'll follow, I don't know. And the FDA in the US, I know a lot of your listeners are in the US, it also has good standards, but they're not good enough. And the biggest problem that we have is we only know there's a problem when 10 or 15 years down the line we find out there's a problem, because you can't test. You don't go about testing for these chemicals in the bloodstream. So there are some voluntary organisations. I learned of one the other day that has been looking at blood testing in clinics and actually screening for chemicals that are in our toxic soup. I'll just give you a little vignette from a couple of weeks ago. My partner and I, husband and I, went to buy a settee. And one of the things that I asked about, because I have dogs and kids and so on, is can you wash the covers on the settee? The person in the shop just looked at me horrified and says, "You must never, ever wash the covers of your settee, because we put so many good chemicals on that it will cause a foam, and it will just wreck the fabric." So what do you mean? You don't need to wash the fabrics anymore because we treat them so they're stain resistant and this and that. And I said, but what's in the finish? And this is our problem, right? We've become so clever that even our homes are no longer safe because of our carpets, because of all the soft furnishings, curtains, etc. So it's not just about what we're putting on our skin, but it's what we're breathing in and what we're sitting on. And we'll only know, because we're the guinea pigs, if there's a problem with that in 10 or 15 years' time. And one of the big issues we have is something called forever chemicals. And what the forever chemicals do is, and these are forever chemicals that are going on our soft furnishings, for example, but they're all over the place. In the kitchenware that we use to cook our food, and so on. They act as a way of helping with waterproof. So waterproof mascara has got forever chemicals in. Anything that looks like it's is water resistant. So sun creams have forever chemicals in. And the forever chemicals are now known to be hormone disruptors. And I don't want to kind of go on a bit of a rant about that, because there's plenty of information out there. But I was a guest at a European Parliament symposium on forever chemicals in 2023, and I didn't know that much about them at the time. And an amazing doctor called Dr. Pete Myers, Google him. He's Canadian. He's been doing some incredible work for the last 30 years on endocrine disruptors. He actually coined the term. So these chemicals, these synthetic chemicals, we know all about plastic, we go on about plastic, but actually majority of synthetic ingredients in beauty products are plastic related. And, that makes our hair very glossy, and that's because it's effectively a plastic that we're putting on our hair. And what doesn't go on you is what goes on you, doesn't go in you. You'll wash off down into our watercourses. And we can already see the impact of that, the impact particularly in Australia. So various sunscreens are now being banned in Australia because they're killing coral. But we're only just starting to wake up to this chemical soup that we are living in and the impact on our health. Rosy, and you know way more about this than I ever will, but also our environment. And, there are ways to navigate through this that we'll come on to. But that's the problem. There's no legal definition for what a natural and organic chemical is. If you are making natural organic chemicals, yeah, they are more expensive. So there are lots of synthetics that you can put in to mimic natural and organic ingredients. And just one other thing that I'll say, and I found out the other day that if you look at, say, the ingredients of eucalyptus oil and you split out, and there's probably 300 different active pharmaceuticals in eucalyptus oil. And of those 300, if you split them all out, some of those are actually banned if you made them synthetically as a standalone, because they can cause skin irritation, etc., etc., etc. But if you use the whole essential oil, they don't. How fascinating is that?
Well, I think it's the same with nutrition, that this is the problem with vitamins made of chemical isolates, that they don't have the cofactors with them that do all kinds of groovy things, make everything work together, because nature has put those things together to create that synergistic effect. But just before we move into the bigger environment, Jane, I know within the Beauty Council, you were the pillar president, and I just wonder where you feel you got to with the Beauty Council. I think you've stepped out of that now, but what was the thrust of your work with the Beauty Council?
So the British Beauty Council was formed as an industry body for us to come together. It was very difficult when you work in brands. You kind of know each other, you meet each other at industry events, but you don't work together. There's some amazing people. Karen, you mentioned Neal's Yard, amazing brand. There's so many fantastic companies coming together, and I was asked if I would found the Sustainable Beauty Coalition, which was, if you like, the active arm of the British Beauty Council in sustainability. Also did a similar role for B Corp Beauty. And it's trying to come up with the industry, trying to come up with a solution that we can all share. So I mentioned about plastics. Plastics is a minefield, and the majority of beauty goes into plastic packaging. There's a reason for that. And it's very, very difficult just to literally turn the tap off. So we have been working together as an industry. First of all, to try to tackle recycling. We found that recycling rates for beauty were really low, like you're talking less than 5%. Whereas the majority, say, plastic of glass bottles, you're looking at 80 or 90%. So what can we do? So that's been a very positive initiative. There's a lot of information on the British Beauty Council website you can download. You can also find, there's a big campaign going on at the moment in the UK about where you can recycle your beauty safely. So, for example, Boots have got really great collection points in every store, and there's 2,000 of those up and down the country. So in a summary, what did the British Beauty Council do? What Sustainable Beauty Coalition? What is our work? Is to try to tackle these as an industry, and to be really responsible for the products that we put out, but also, the mess that we leave behind, quite frankly.
Yeah. Okay. So Karen, what are you feeling listening to all of this?
My heart's singing again. I mean, first of all, it feels like the importance of raising awareness again to get this information out there is so, so key. But while we as consumers keep buying these products, the companies will always come up with an excuse for not changing, because they're still being driven by making profit and the bottom line. So what we can do as consumers, and I remember the day, Jane, you said this, is we are citizens, we are not consumers. And I remember the bold campaigns of stop using all of these products. Do you remember that day we added up how many makeup products people are being marketed to put on their face? I mean, it must be more now with contouring and all sorts of the makeup products. But to be bold and say use less, think about what you are doing to the planet and yourself. And I remember that campaign you ran, use less, have multi-use products. And our dear friend Tabitha James Cron, the most amazing hair products, wash your hair really well and leave it for 5 days and let the natural oils come back. I mean, this is the difference we can make. Walk down the aisles in the supermarkets of all of those cleaning products and all of those beauty products, and don't buy a thing.
When you walk down those aisles, smell.
Oh,
take a deep breath and never go there again.
yeah.
Because you are breathing in stuff you don't need.
The other thing I remember, Jane, is because I know with the advisors, they are women working for themselves and they want to make a living as well. It's, this is a complicated industry we work in. And there is a real pull to see the other people as competition, the other companies as competition. And I remember you saying to me, they're not our competition. We are in the fight together against the companies that are creating products with all these chemicals in. So if you find another brand like Neal's Yard who are just as passionate, and they are our friends, we don't need to be in competition with them. We're on the same side. And it just sort of raised the bar for me so much. So it feels so good to be like, doing this podcast, and let's get more and more awareness out there, and people choose with your feet.
Well, Jane, I know that as well as being an MD and the country lead for Waleeda for the whole of the UK, you're also, studying integrative medicine yourself, doing the diploma in Bristol at the National Centre for Integrative Medicine. I know you've mentioned in one the work you've done with the COP summits, the Green Deal, EU, the Plastic Soup Foundation. And it just seems that, the ground you cover out there, turning up at conferences and getting involved, Sustainable Food Trust, the Dirt Organization, soil associations. Wow, you cover so much ground. And I think what we need to do now is just focus on where do we all need to be putting our focus to make the biggest difference. What should we be doing individually and collectively?
If you think about the human body, it's amazing. It's a self-organizing organism. It does everything it needs to do. So, we manufacture our own moisturizer called sebum on our skin. So let's talk about a baby. And I'll give some really practical hints and tips as to how you can navigate your way through this toxic soup of products. So think about a baby arrives absolutely perfect, and a baby has been incubated for 9 months or so and has been protected in its amniotic fluid by an amazing wax called vernix. So it's a sort of thick, yellowy coating moisturizer. And the baby comes out into the world, and that vernix is meant to stay on its skin for up to 6 weeks, and it's meant to protect the skin because the skin is 5 times thinner than an adult skin. Baby's just been born into this world. It's come from a very nice, warm, cozy place into the world, and it's there for a reason. And historically, what do? We want to get rid of all the blood and all of that yellow gunk. And so we put a baby in a tub of bubble bath, and we use sodium lauryl sulfate, which creates the bubbles, which is a known skin irritant, to wash away the bubbles. How crazy is that? And we alter the pH of the skin, which can lead to all sorts of things. And so, if you look now, babies in the Western world, but particularly Northern Europe, so the UK and definitely Northern Europe, we've got 50% of babies now have issues with their skin. And that can be just a small rash or dryness all the way through to atopic eczema. And it's what we do. That's what we do. So first and foremost, if you have a baby or you know anybody that's having a baby, you must not use anything on their skin for the first 6 weeks at all, apart from maybe a little bit of oil when you've cleaned their bottom and a barrier cream, like a certified natural and organic barrier cream, a nappy cream to stop any rashes. That's it. And you think about all the money that was being spent on the products that the baby certainly doesn't need, and you will create problems for that child later in life. It's the same with breastfeeding. Won't go there, but because I know it's quite a controversial subject, but the baby's skin microbiome comes from the mother, and we're almost detaching ourselves from what the human body needs and does. We're making it almost artificial by using these products and by even how a baby comes into the world. So you think about ourselves, like you mentioned the amazing Tabitha James Cran, Karen. who is such a warrior in the world of hair. Now, Tabitha's stories is a story she should tell on your podcast. But I will just say, her moment of awakening came when she was expecting her first child, when her hairdresser said to her, "You've got to stop dyeing your hair." And she said, "Why?" She said, "Because we know that hair dye crosses the placenta." And she said, "Jane, I was a hairdresser. I didn't know any of this." And that's when her journey started, her crusade. Now, we use foaming agents to strip off all of the oils on our hair, and then we have to use conditioner to put the softness back in our hair. And if you are washing your hair every day, and many people do, and you're using 2 treatments of shampoo, the first thing you can do is to wash your hair every other day and only use 1 treatment of shampoo, because you don't use 2. You really don't need to use 2. You will cut down your bill for shampoo and conditioner by 75% just by doing that. So why wouldn't you do it? And Tabitha's taken me on a journey from stopping dyeing my hair to stopping washing my hair. I only wash my hair once a month now, and I don't use loads of products on it, and I use oil. That's pretty much it. So I'm on my own journey, and all I'm trying to do is let my body get back into balance and harmony, because the more I interfere with it, the more out of balance I will become. And also, I don't need to buy the products, and I don't need to have this wave of consumerism in terms of the impact that it has on the planet. So very, very simple rules. Buy less, buy better. When you're buying quality products, you need to use less, because you're allowing the skin to naturally do its thing. You're not impacting on the skin barrier. You're not impacting on the pH of your skin, the acid mantle of your skin. You should never use harsh foaming agents. Certainly not on elderly or babies. You choose to use them on yourself, or you choose to use them on yourself. So buy less, buy better, use less, change it. Why don't we just wash with water? I wash my face with water. I haven't used a cleanser for years. I know Waleeda make lovely cleansers, but I don't use them. And just I think to have a consciousness, we talked a lot about consciousness, but to have a consciousness and common sense. And understand that, Karen, as you said, when you go down the cleaning aisles full of cleaning products in the supermarket, when you go down the beauty aisles in your parapharmacy or in the supermarket, it's all there to sell to you, to sell you a product that you think you need, that quite frankly, you don't need.
Well, I just want to pick up on something you said right at the beginning about Waleeda and anthroposophy and the gifts from nature, because also in Waleeda, people will find all kinds of healthcare products for itchy skin, itchy eyes, aches, pains, colds. And a lot of them have this little word Doron, which means gift. So I'm about to get Visio Doron for my eyes. And, there's all kinds of other Dorons that apply to our digestive system and skin and so forth. And just to say that because we love Waleeda so much, there is a portal on our aliveandlovingit.org website where people can dive into the Waleeda world and look at all these incredible things for skin and for the bath. I think probably my entry point into the world of Waleeda was the bath milks. The rosemary bath milk just really, I find, so invigorating, but I also love the pine and the arnica bath milk when you've been working hard and you're achy. We swear in our house by the arnica massage balm, and I know, Karen, you're this summer going to be helping to pick the arnica, aren't you, up in Scotland?
I am. I'm 20 minutes down the road from the arnica fields, and I've already been roped in. I volunteered because it's like full circle for me. I'm going to be part of the I think it's a ceremony, actually, and a celebration as they pull that plant out of the ground and giving thanks for what it does for us. I mean, it's just an incredible healing plant. So I'm thrilled to be so close to it. But Jane, I noticed at the beginning of the chat you were talking about medicines. It makes my heart sing when I hear you speak about medicines and the pharmacy and the pharmaceutical side of Waleeda. So just in the last, bit of the podcast, please talk more about that. What's the, what connects you to those medicines, and why are you so passionate about it now?
So we've talked about anthroposophy, which in Greek is the word that was given to the work of Steiner and Uso, who said, and in Greek it means understanding of man. And we approach our pharmaceuticals in a holistic fourfold way, an integrative medicine approach, effectively. So we're looking at the physical body, we're looking at our energy body, our vitality. We're looking at our soul body, and we're looking at our connection to something bigger. You can call it spirit, you can call it purpose, and so on. And the medicines work across those 4 different levels. So they will work in terms of looking at, you mentioned about arnica. So arnica is really good at dispersing bruising, internal bleeding. But arnica also has other powers. Arnica is really good for emotions. So if you have shock, or if you have a tooth out, or if you have an operation, that's a massive shock to your system. Arnica is very good at managing shock from a nerve perspective. So it's about working. Every single medicine works across those 4 levels, and it's particularly apparent in medicines for things like stress and sleep. Getting back the rhythms of nature into your rhythms. So for me, all of our products, we've talked about therapeutic bath milks. We know them as cosmetics. They're classified as cosmetics, but actually they were originally created as medicines themselves, because they are therapeutic. They have a therapy about them. So you just smelling the rosemary in the rosemary bath milk, it has a therapeutic benefit. So I guess the way I would kind of say it is, it doesn't just work on the physical level, but it works on so many different levels. So it will help clear your mind. It will help on your emotional level. It will help connect you back into the rhythms of nature. And how does it do it? Yeah, we can prove it all scientifically now, because we're getting cleverer and cleverer. So we know that it works, and we've always known that it worked, but now we're being able to prove it. And obviously it is important that Waleeda is seen as a very credible pharmaceutical brand. We are one of the very few, I'm going to say probably the only one, that works to sustainable principles. So everything we do is we think about the overall, the whole system, the holism of how we go about our business. And that's how our medicines work. They work holistically.
And there are anthroposophical doctors around the UK who can work with people at this beautiful, fine, energetic level. I sort of see it as where homeopathy meets herbalism, but very much with this spiritual connection and the focus on creativity and movement, eurythmy and colour and dance, just exquisite. So I think, just to say as well, that if this is resonating with our listeners, then there's so many opportunities. You can train with Waleeda either down the skin and beauty care route, or down the health and wellness route. You can become a Waleeda advisor to help other people. You can start using these, and they're not expensive either. I think that's another thing. It's amazing. But also I think the power of less is very much in my ears at the moment on all levels. And when we started this 3 series, we talked about the toxicity of excess. We've also talked about toxic emotion, toxic on the spiritual level, the kinds of things that we're shedding. It just feels that this detoxification is just with us, and many of us are now really taking that message home to simplify and just come back to what is natural and native and in our environment. So thank you so much, dearest Jane. You are a complete inspiration. How you cover so many bases and stand up for what is right and true in so many ways just blows my mind. Thank you with all my heart.
Oh, it's been my pleasure. What a fabulous morning I've had with you both.
Please come on every week. Oh, thank you, Jane. Amazing.
Thank you so much for joining us on this episode of Alive and Loving It. We really hope that today's conversation has sparked your passion and showed you ways to open up into the vibrant life that's possible for you.
Absolutely, Rosy. I mean, we do have to remember that transformation begins with love, and that is self-love, love for others, and love for our beautiful planet. When you embrace love and you just allow yourself to receive as much as you give, you unlock the fullest potential of your life.
That is the truth, Karen. And we're here to support you every step of the way on your journey. So if you enjoyed what you heard today, please join our community and check out our trainings and our services such as my Dr. Rosy Daniel Clinic and Karen's beautiful women's circles and retreats and the events where we can all go deeper together. And do please send us your feedback. We want to hear your ideas for the podcast, who you'd like us to interview, and the questions you want us to ask and get answered. Through the contact page on our website, just go to aliveandlovingit.org.
I've really enjoyed reading them. But when you're there, be sure to sign up for our newsletter and updates. And what about following us on Instagram as well? We are at Alive and Loving It Community. Once you've signed up to the newsletter, you'll receive extra notes from today's show and more inspiration to help you live your most vibrant life.
Thank you for being with us. Keep shining, stay true to yourself, and remember, this is your time to live your fullest, healthiest life.
So until next time, keep doing what you love most in life. I know Rosy and I will be. We're so excited to connect with you on the next episode of Alive and Loving It. And we welcome you with open hearts to our Alive and Loving It community.